Another blow to the already fragile relationship between the US and Pakistan, the suspension of some $800 million in military aid. Is this a signal that the US might be backing away from a country regarded as a critical ally? And what will be the impact on what the US used to call the war on terror? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Mike Hanna. In a sign of how difficult US-Pakistan relations have become, Washington has suspended $800 million in military aid to its longtime ally. The move comes amid claims the Obama administration is upset with Pakistan for expelling what are described as US military trainers and for not taking a tougher stance on the Taliban and forces aligned to the movement. Relations between the two nations reached an all-time low following the US raid that killed Osama bin Laden in May, an action in which the Pakistan government was not consulted. And the latest decision to withdraw aid will further damage the already strained relationship. Mark Orchard has this report.
For years, it's been a difficult relationship, but also a necessary alliance for both countries. But since the killing of Osama bin Laden, things have become much more tense. Now, around a third of the military aid that Washington pays Islamabad is being held back.
Right now, they have taken some steps that have given us reason to pause on some of the aid which we were giving to their military, and we're trying to work through that.
Those steps include asking Washington to pull out some military trainers and refusing to allow some intelligence agents in. The Obama administration is angry at what it suspects are continuing close links between some in the Pakistan military and intelligence agencies and members of armed militant groups. Pakistan has always denied that its senior officials have divided loyalties, pointing out that it suffered terribly at the hands of groups like the Taliban. And Islamabad was furious when, just over a week ago, the US's senior military officer suggested that Pakistan's security agencies had a hand in the recent killing of a journalist.
The statement by Mike Mullen about Pakistan is extremely irresponsible and unfortunate. This will create problems and difficulties for the bilateral relations between Pakistan and America.
As well as the yearly $2 billion in military aid, the US also gives Pakistan billions of dollars in non-military aid. And while the State Department has yet to announce any changes in that regard, US diplomats are aware of how important cooperation is between the two nations. Recently, a spokesman said, "We are taking a very clear-eyed approach to our relationship with Pakistan, weighing both the importance of a continued long-term relationship and the importance of near-term action on key issues." Recent visits to Pakistan by senior US officials have so far failed to turn the relationship around, but neither country can achieve their own goals without the help of the other, at least for now. Mark Orchard, Al Jazeera, Washington.
The US government's decision to suspend military aid has predictably angered Pakistan, which says the aid was intended for troops deployed on the border with Afghanistan, a country in which more than 100,000 US forces are deployed. Defense Minister Chaudhry Ahmed Mukhtar said, "This money is not for fighting the war, but is money that we have spent already." He went on to say, the next step would be that the government or the armed forces will pull back the forces from the border areas. For more on this, I'm joined by our three guests. From Islamabad, Ambassador Ali Sawa Naqvi, with more than 36 years of diplomatic service. Ambassador Naqvi served as a deputy of mission at Pakistan's embassy in the US. Also from Islamabad, HASAN Khan, Director of News and Current Affairs at KHYBER TV. And from Washington, D.C., Richard Weitz, Senior Fellow and Director at the Center for Political and Military Analysis at the Hudson Institute. Let's begin with Ambassador Naqvi. How significant is this move in US-Pakistan relations?
It is, of course, a very significant move, and it does represent a very severe cut in the assistance program, particularly in the security assistance program that the United States has extended to Pakistan. But I must tell you that Pakistan-US relations have a long history, and there have been times when US assistance has been cut off rather peremptorily. The first time was 65, but coming nearer in history, the Pressler Amendment was applied on Pakistan in 1990, which again froze all economic and military assistance to Pakistan. So in my time, I've seen this happen in far more serious terms than is the case today. However, that is not to underestimate the significance of this move.
Richard Weitz in Washington, D.C., if I could put to you that question, that in view of recent history, as we heard from the ambassador there, this not necessarily such a major step by the U.S., your view?
I have to concur. The ambassador is spot on. We've had a long history in the relationship of the United States, initially for non-proliferation reasons, more recently for terrorism reasons, trying to withhold aid, suspend aid as a tool, a signal. This one, it's not that large an amount, and it's a suspension. It's not a cancellation, and the administration, I think, is working with Congress to try and resume it. I mean, in a way, the administration, as I'm sure the Pakistani authorities, are cross-pressured. Domestic opinion in the U.S. would like some kind of signal to the Pakistanis that they should be punished for harboring bin Laden, as it's seen here by many people. But the administrations in both countries understand we need to work together since we have so many common interests.
Hasan Khan in Islamabad, is this being viewed there as a punishment of some form by the United States?
No, I think I'm not looking into this decision of the U.S. administration in that way. There is a type of a punishment or it is a type of a severe cut. I think looking into the Pakistan-U.S. history and keeping the ground reality in mind, both Pakistan and United States need each other at this time. It's very crucial for Pakistan too and for the United States too. So I think this ups and downs, and this is not a cut, this is just a pause as we are looking into it, because if you want to cut, this aid is being approved by the US Congress. So if you want to cut it, so definitely you have to go to the Congress bag. So this is just, I think, a type of a delay in the payment of counterinsurgency payment to the Pakistani government. But I think both the countries, there is this is mostly the public posturing adopted by Washington and then Islamabad, because both the administration in Pakistan and in Washington, there is a lot of public pressure in Washington on the Obama administration and in Pakistan, particularly on our security forces, that mostly these counterinsurgency engagements along the Pakistan border, mostly the people see that they are not giving the results, and there is a perception that Pakistan is fighting. No doubt the government is saying that this is our own war, but there is a public perception that Pakistan is fighting somebody else's war in the border area, and that is the reason that it is not getting that level of success. So this public posturing, sometimes I see that both are speaking, you see that both are speaking to the media instead of coming, there are bilateral arrangements and there are multilateral arrangements as Pakistan, Afghanistan and US is concerned. But despite that, mostly they result to speaking through media. So I think this is more for public consumption. This is more for this tempering down the people either in US. This is anti-Pakistan type of propaganda, and in Pakistan this is a US anti-US type of propaganda.
Well, let's just go to Ambassador Naqvi on a particular point here. We heard the threat of withdrawing the Pakistan forces from that border area in Afghanistan. Now, how great a threat is this, and is it a threat that could be carried through?
Well, you see, we have had a statement, I think, yesterday from the military authorities in Pakistan that this the action against the militants and the extremists will continue even if there is a cut in the military assistance program. Now, in the first place, I mean, I agree with our friend in Washington that this is not yet final and it'll have to go through a process. It's probably a suspension, because under the Kerry-Lugar-Berman Act, Congress will have to approve the cut, and unless that is done, the cut is not effective. So I think it is still somewhere midway, and the action against the militants is being taken by the Pakistan government. And I think this, in fact, raises one point which has been raised by Pakistan many times, and that is the question of the fencing of the borders. I mean, we again are facing a situation where the government of Pakistan is forced to fight a war where people are coming across the Pak-Afghan border and causing damage to life and property on the Pakistani side. So we have always maintained that there should be a fencing of the borders, and this, for some reason, neither the US government or the Afghan government seem to take into account.
Ambassador, that is a point that we'll perhaps explore a bit further, but I just want to put to Richard Weitz that question of how much of a threat is it to withdraw the Pakistani forces from that border with the view, given the fact of so many US troops fighting in Afghanistan?
Well, I would be surprised if that were to occur. I mean, in essence, that would mean that the Pakistanis would do what many American commanders have requested, or if they pull their troops out, then the U.S. will just treat that area as a free fire zone, and same with the Afghans, and they'll just bombard it with drones, mortars, send in helicopters, special forces, and so on, which is what they would like to do, but they won't, because it's Afghan in the past, because it's Pakistani territory, and the Pakistani frontier guards have shot at American helicopters on several occasions that have violated their border. There's also been some recent exchanges of fire between Afghanistan and Pakistan, a lot of mortar shells and so on. So pulling back might reduce the casualties of the Pakistani military, but it's almost it almost means that they transfer that enforcement of the security of the region to the Afghan U.S. forces. And we know Pakistanis are very insistent, as are most people, on their sovereignty, and so I would think they wouldn't do that. There are probably other ways they would respond, but losing control over a border area is something the government rarely tries to do deliberately.
Well, the suspension of U.S. military aid would appear to be a response to the measures taken by the Islamabad government in the wake of the Osama bin Laden killing. In particular, a clampdown on the number of diplomatic visas issued to what are called U.S. contractors. At one stage, there were more than 300 of these issued, one of which was held by a man called Raymond Davis. A former Special Forces operative, Davis shot to death 2 men who he claimed had tried to rob him near Lahore in January this year. The US government claimed he was protected by diplomatic immunity, but Davis was jailed and charged with murder. Following protracted diplomatic pressure, including the direct intervention of President Obama, Davis was released. The families of the 2 men he killed were paid more than $2 million in what is traditionally referred to as blood money. He left Pakistan within hours, and it subsequently emerged that Davis was part of a security unit attached to a CIA team. And many questions about exactly what he and his team were doing in Pakistan remain unanswered. Within weeks of Davis's return to the US, the raid on the bin Laden compound took place. But the question here, and one I want to put to Hasan Khan in Islamabad, is the US taking Pakistani compliance for granted? Issues such as the Raymond Davis case, the presence of drones on Pakistani soil, would appear to be an infringement of Pakistan's sovereignty, would it not?
I think, yes, definitely, particularly the Raymond Davis issue, the way it was handled, I will say it was mishandled by both the Pakistani government and the US administration, and then the way Osama bin Laden operation was conducted by the US Special Forces deep inside Pakistan territory. So initially the responses from the Pakistani administration were not that expected of them, but when they saw the public, the resentment in the public, so definitely they caved into it, and then they come up with a very strong measure against the strong, I think, statements and even action against the US administration, and there was a type of very hot discussion in both the parties. So I think no doubt basically the problem is the anti-US feeling in the public, particularly in Pakistan. That is very crucial. Currently, there is a political government in Pakistan, and already the Osama bin Laden operation, they put the Pakistan security apparatus tremendously under pressure. So it's a type of a reaction coming up. We see that the US trainers were asked to leave Pakistan. There was a cut in the visa issued to the US personnel. But I think that the ground reality is still there. That Pakistan, no doubt, it has engaged 140,000 military along the western border. But there is a type of hastiness, and there is a demand both in Washington and in Pakistan that the results are not coming out. So definitely there's a type of frustration, and this frustration is not only in the United States. The same frustration is in the Pakistani public too, because the war is getting prolonged day by day. Pakistani public are getting killed, especially in the tribal area. More and more people are getting killed. There is a lot of anti-armed forces.
Well, let me pick up on a particular point you made there, Hasan Khan, with Ambassador Naqvi also there in Islamabad. That issue of Pakistani sovereignty, the presence of the US in various areas of Pakistan. What kind of political pressure is coming to bear on the Pakistan government because of these relations with the US? How strong is this pressure on the government itself?
You mean the domestic pressure?
Correct.
The domestic political pressure?
Yes.
Well, yes, there is a lot of unease in Pakistan regarding this, the present state of our relationship, in which the US seems to be having the upper hand, and that causes Pakistanis to feel that they are being treated as a surrogate or a subordinate. Now, I think the outcome and the upshot of the recent developments that you are talking about, which means the case of the Raymond Davis case and the Osama attack on the Abbottabad house, and also the cutoff that has been threatened of military aid. I think all this is going to reshape our bilateral relationship, and there are going to be adjustments in this relationship in a manner that there is a comfort level for both Pakistan and the United States. At this moment, there is very little comfort in the thinking of the Pakistanis.
Well, Richard Weitz in Washington, we've got a change in Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, a former CIA chief. There's going to be a change in the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the next couple of months as well. Mike Mullen, having dealt very closely with the Pakistan military in recent months. Is this suspension of the funding a signal of something wider that is happening, that while the personnel are being changed on the ground, that also there's perhaps a reviewing of the nature of the relationship between the US and Pakistan from the Obama administration?
Well, they actually did that when they came into office. They undertook a very comprehensive review of the relationship, and they actually changed policies. They decided to, under Ambassador Holbrooke, try and treat Afghanistan and Pakistan as a single issue in many areas. They tried to increase the economic aid, so it wouldn't, because in the past most of the aid had been focused on the military. They were trying to take advantage of the new civilian government in Pakistan. As we know, President Musharraf left office, and you now have a civilian government which they would like to support. So they went through that. They made a lot of reviews, a lot of changes in policy. And for the most part, things have worked well. One of the things that has not, of course, is Americans are still vastly unpopular in the country, despite all the aid we're giving. Now, the recent developments, there was initially a call, particularly after the bin Laden affair, but U.S. officials, including Secretary Panetta during his confirmation hearings, and he was head of CIA, so he would know, said that there's no evidence that senior Pakistani officials knew of or aided the presence of bin Laden in Pakistan. That, you know, it's possible some lower level people did, but they have no evidence of that. Pakistan has been cooperative in some areas. We talked about some of the negative, but they've actually been open to, they've suffered many more casualties than most Americans are aware fighting the insurgents in their country. They've given a lot of sway to the U.S. So I don't think so. I think that people thought about that when for a little while and decided, no, the relationship is about as good as you can get it. It still needs to be fine-tuned, it needs to be managed. It's going to get more tricky as the U.S. forces pull out. There's concern about what effects that's going to have in Afghan-Pakistan relations. Perhaps Pakistan-India rivalry in Afghanistan will resume. So they're trying to figure out how to manage that.
If we could just, I just want to pick on something that you said there and put it to HASAN Khan. And that is that question. We heard there that, yes, that the new administration perhaps welcoming Pakistan, talking to them, but at the same time that you had the statement that we do not believe that the Pakistani authorities knew of the presence of Osama bin Laden, you have the new defense secretary actually saying that the al-Qaeda leader al-Zawahiri may be in Pakistan, making that direct statement. Your view on this, HASAN Khan, is this part of an attempt to force Pakistan into action? Is it a threat that there might be action taken should Pakistan not seek out al-Zawahiri?
I think, yes, what you said, that what the U.S. administration is rightly doing now, I think they are putting more and more pressure in Pakistan, because Pakistan has to launch military operation in the North Waziristan territory. But the problem is there is a huge mistrust between both the U.S. and Islamabad administration. So definitely these are the tactics which the U.S. administration want to put the Pakistan's military under tremendous pressure, so it can extract more and it can force it to do more, particularly do the U.S. bidding. But unfortunately, in Pakistan too, especially the Pakistan's military, understand that a U.S. approach toward our U.S. relation with Pakistan, U.S. is dealing with Pakistan in transactional way. Once the U.S. is getting what it wants, so the Pakistan perception is that it will waste no time to just go away. Even Pakistan too understand that currently U.S. want to wind up its operation in Afghanistan and just go beg, particularly go to the barracks to stop this military operation. But the problem is Pakistan, if willing to, it can't do it, because there is a fear in the Pakistan military establishment that once if we try to get hold of the Taliban, or if we try to get hold of those who are fighting the US and NATO militaries inside Afghanistan, if we succeed, okay. If we not, then we will be facing more pressure from the US. But this trust deficit between Washington and Islamabad, this is very crucial. And I think as long as the US has not cleared its policy in Afghanistan, because I have interacted with so many Western diplomats in Pakistan.
Let me just actually go to Ambassador Naqvi at this particular point on something that you were mentioning there, HASAN Khan, and that is the trust between the US and the Pakistan administration, and the trust between the US and the Pakistan army, critically. Is this trust being eroded?
Well, I mean, the trust only a few months back between the military and the US military and the Pakistani military was quite good, and a fair degree of trust seemed to be in demonstration. It's only lately that this trust seems to be eroding. I think this is a temporary phase in view of the broader consideration that both Pakistan and the United States need each other at this time. I think there will be, as I said, some readjustments and certain review processes in both countries, and eventually there will be a better degree of trust, mainly because the worries of the Pakistanis, the fears of the Pakistanis, the comfort level of the Pakistanis would be addressed. And,
well, at that
I
particular
think,
point, and to finish with that statement that you made there, Ambassador, that Pakistan and the US need each other. My thanks to Ambassador Ali Sawa Naqvi and Hasan Khan in Islamabad and Richard Weitz in Washington, D.C. Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We welcome your comments and suggestions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. I'm Mike Hanna. Goodbye for now.